Welcome back, everyone, to Sheltered Sages, the show where two formerly sheltered homeschoolers, now adults, take a look at the world one crazy Reddit story at a time. My name is Andrew.
And my name is Philip.
All right, welcome back to another, I would say, more standard episode. That's one of the cool parts about this semester is we've kind of been doing a lot more different stuff for the episodes. Last week we did our Geek Dive, which was more of almost like a behind-the-scenes episode, which was really, really cool. But it's good to get back into the Reddit stories, and boy, do we have some Reddit stories today.
Oh gosh, no, you're saying it like there's something very, very dangerous that we're about to get into.
I chose my stories intentionally, so I'm very excited about this because today we get to talk about one of the most stressful themes in the world, especially for those who were of the homeschool what's the word I'm looking for? Variety. There you go. Yes. Of the homeschool variety. We're talking about adulting. All things adulting.
Andrew, what is adulting?
Adulting is an outdated meme that people don't like to hear anymore.
That's very, very true.
Just
That's
kidding.
very true.
So like when we say adulting, we think about like all of those little things that just irk us that we have to do as adults that are just things that have to get done, but are also super annoying and time consuming, like taxes or mowing the lawn or grocery shopping or doing job interviews or working in general, unless you work at a job that's like super awesome that you love. So,
it's stuff you knew your parents did, but you didn't want to do, I guess, when you were younger, and then you got older and now you have to do it.
Yep.
So that's what we're meaning by adulting.
Yes.
It's almost like we should be able to pass this off to someone else. But no, as an adult, we've got to do it ourselves.
Yep.
Because that's what makes us an adult. All right.
Sorry.
So we're going to make it happen, and we're going to talk about what adulting looks like from the scope of a homeschooler as well, because it might be a little bit different than everyone else, since we did have a different upbringing of what an adult was like in our life.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, but before we do any of that, I think we should start the intro.
Nah, wait. Is that the adult thing to do? I say now?
Yes, I think that's what we do.
First story for you, and I think this will be a fun story that both is crazy and also will segue into some fun conversations that we can have.
Oh goodness. Okay, here we
go.
So
our first story, again, we are reading from the Am I the Picklefoot subreddit. The Picklefoot is the individual who we think whether or not they are being just a rotten old picklefoot in this scenario. So we'll see if you feel that way about this person. Because OP asks, am I the picklefoot for telling this college guy's mom that her coming into his interview cost him his job?
Ooh, first of all, you're a picklefoot for a long title for this story. Because it's supposed to be succinct, but second of all, we'll see.
We will certainly see, won't we? Well, I am a hiring manager at a tech company, and I was hiring for a summer internship a little while ago. We had a guy, about 19 years old, applying for a summer internship between his freshman and sophomore years of college. It was a virtual interview over Zoom because of COVID. A minute or two in, when I was introducing myself, his mom came in and introduced herself and started talking about her son's work ethic.
No.
Yep.
Okay.
I thought it was a little strange. I said something polite about wanting to hear from him. She just didn't get the hint and kept coming into the camera frame during the interview and interrupting her son to answer questions for him. Yes, I know. It's wild.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I asked a few technical questions, which she seemed to answer well, and then cut the interview fairly short. I thought that was all over and done with until I got an email from a woman a month later asking about her son's application. She seemed offended that he hadn't gotten an acceptance or rejection. Oh. It bothered me. I felt bad for the kid, honestly. Way back when I was a teenager, my mom used to pull the same stuff. But luckily, she only did that when I was 15 and working for a daycare. Then when I was an adult applying for engineering jobs. Wait, not when I was then when I was an adult and applying for
Later on.
she also did the same thing.
She kept doing it.
Not when I was an adult applying for engineering jobs, but I felt like this poor kid was getting his chances ruined because his mom wasn't giving him the chance to apply on his own. I sent an email back saying I was not at liberty to send information about an application to anyone but the applicant. I also asked HR to send an email to the kid saying sorry, but we're not making him an offer. It is something we usually do, but his rejection email must have slipped through the cracks with all the COVID craziness.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was a time. It's back in the time capsule of 2021. Anyways, after we sent that, I got a phone call from his mom. She had a forwarded copy of the email, and she was demanding answers. I said that I could not comment on the guy's performance in the interview. So in the interview to her, as she was not the applicant. If he wanted to reach out to me, I was happy to give him some feedback. However, I could say that regardless of his performance, her presence in the interview took him out of consideration for the position. We were looking for an independent and self-driven person for the position, and for that reason, it is important to see an applicant speak for themselves, follow up themselves, etc. I also said that, as a piece of advice, every hiring manager I've met in my career who sees someone other than the applicant answering questions during an interview, following up on the applicant's behalf, etc., would also put their resume in the do not hire pile. Since while the applicant may be skilled and motivated, they need the ability to demonstrate those traits themselves. She blew up at me over that, kind of cussed me out to the point where I hung up. Am I the picklefoot for how I handled this? Maybe I should have kept my mouth shut earlier, or kept my mouth shut way earlier.
Okay, well, this is very fun.
Sips tea.
Yeah, that's a lot of tea there. Okay, I'm gonna start out. I'm gonna go through the list of things that I would like to discuss through here. The first part, it's very nice to get a letter of recommendation from your mom during the interview.
Oh yeah.
To talk about what you're doing. That said, and no offense to any moms out there or any people who are like, "Oh, my kid's so great." Getting a letter of recommendation from your parent does not carry as much weight as you might think it does. Because it's like, okay, you raised this child. You hopefully think that they are a good kid, generally, if you're a good parent and you raise them well and they're a good person in general. You're like, okay, yeah, this is a good kid. I think it would be stranger if you went over and said, yeah, he's just really not good for this. You really shouldn't hire him. Then I would listen and be like, why, ma'am?
Why? Yeah. It's like if your mom gets involved in the interview either way, it's just not a good sign.
It's not a good sign, but it's not good if she's like going over and saying that. That's the first part for it. So no, that's not good. Second part, I kind of want to know whether or not she did a good job answering those questions. I don't know. Maybe it's like an engineering thing when people apply to engineering jobs where like another person can answer it for you. But according to the story, according to OP, he's saying, no, that's not how it works. You're not supposed to answer questions for the person who's interviewing. But the third part, this is an internship.
Yeah.
And I think we need to recognize that because it's an internship, I'm going to assume that the applicant is a younger individual.
19 years of age.
Yep. So this younger individual, this might be one of their first interviews ever. Mm-hmm. And I understand a parent really caring about, is it their son?
Yes, I think it was their son. Yeah.
Their son, trying to make sure that they get this wonderful opportunity to learn and grow. And so, they're hopping in and answering some of the questions and kind of introducing themselves as the person who kind of created this individual. Yeah. I just feel, from what OP said, he's absolutely correct. In an interview, I'm not interviewing the mom. Unless the mom is going over and doing the job, then yes, I would have her go over and say it instead. I'm interviewing her son. So he should be answering those questions. He should be doing it. Now, to the bottom of my list, is he the picklefoot for saying this thing to the mom? Technically, no.
Yeah.
He didn't say anything wrong. Mm-hmm. My other side, though, is him going first, I don't need to give you any answers because you're not the applicant. and then kind of going back on it and saying, here's the answers, even though you're not the applicant because you're demanding, I would have just stood my ground and said, I can't give you any answers because you're not the applicant. Just cut it off, because now you've invited this to the point that apparently it affected them so much. They're on Reddit asking us whether or not they're the picklefoot.
Well, I think the thing that's really interesting too is it's like, to be fair, he could talk about the applicant, but he could talk about what he saw from the mom in that regard.
Yeah.
Like they could be like, well, I did see that you kept inserting yourself, and so let me tell you what I noticed because you kept inserting yourself. Yeah. Don't do that.
Yes.
It's like, I mean, I know, especially when I first got started like doing jobs. My first job that I ever had that was like a paid, the job that I had to go to weekly was working at a Chick-fil-A, actually. So I actually started in the kitchen, interestingly enough, at Chick-fil-A. I did the deep fryer, or not the deep fryer, the pressure fryer, whatever you call it. Oh. But I breaded the chicken, I fried it, all of that stuff. It was a fun job, but I was not fast enough in the kitchen. I did not have that.
So sorry.
But it's fine because I'm more of a front-facing person anyway. So they put me in front of the people, and I got to do other stuff. But that application, or not that application, but like the interview process where I had to go in and things like that, I had my mom drop me off, and she was waiting. No, actually, I might have driven myself at that point in time.
Okay.
I think I had my own car then. Yeah, so I drove myself. But like my mom was waiting by the phone to hear how it went, because it was like, that's, it's a big deal. It's a big first job. And so and I'm constantly one of those people that like, if something big happens or something exciting, I do call my mom and I like let her know, because I enjoy sharing those things with her.
Yeah.
But, and this is something that's like very interesting as a parent, or as someone who works with a lot of parents as well, there is that time and a place where it's like, you have to let your child do the thing and risk potential failure.
Yes.
I mean, as someone who works with kids and going in the process of becoming a teacher, I talk to a lot of teachers, and I get a lot of different experiences that they have with talking about children that they work with. And you meet a lot of parents, from what I have been told and what I have seen, who are very much wanting to advocate for their children, and which is great. Wonderful. But sometimes to the extent of not allowing their children to have natural consequences. And when that happens, that's when you start entering areas where, hey, now we're overstepping. Now we're not allowing our child to learn. Now we're trying to protect our child from failure, which is part of life. And so I think that's like part of the adulting thing is kind of moving into that space of being uncomfortable, moving into that space of being like, I have to do this interview for the first time. It's terrifying. And you know what? Probably the next 3 interviews are also going to be terrifying, because only a select few people are really good at interviews and are comfortable just going out and doing interviews for fun.
Yeah.
I am never going to be one of those people, even though I'm much more comfortable talking now. But if there's a job that I like really want and don't want to lose, I'm going to be nervous about it. I'm going to be like, about it. But it's also that same reality of, I have to still do it.
Yeah.
And no one can do that interview for me.
Yeah. And I will even say towards that, just kind of caveating across, yes, parents should allow their children at a certain point to show themselves. It's kind of more like, you need to take that initiative. You have to have your own confidence in yourself. You can't kind of just go over and, I won't say defend, or just like cover them their entire lives. Because when it comes down to it, you might not be there for every single, you're not going to stand beside him in the engineering jobs. Like you're not going to do that. You expect him to be able to do it himself. So in that way, and I just remember this, my parents had this idea, and I don't know where it came from, but they were like, before you get to the workforce, they wanted us to have, each of us to have experience working.
Okay.
So they had all of us volunteer somewhere. I think like by the time we were like 12 or 13 or whatever, like a younger age, I might have been probably older than that, but we all went and volunteered at various places, just so that we would know what it's like to go over and work, have someone else be our boss. And while they encouraged us and like helped us out with the process of like finding these locations and talking to the people that were going to, let's say, hire us, even though it was a volunteer job, once it happened, they were like, okay, this is your job now. You need to go there. You need to figure out what you're supposed to be doing. You need to be able to have a list of things that you need to do and finish them, because once you get out there, it's going to be a lot more difficult because now you're getting paid for it. And if you don't show up for work, you don't get money. And if you don't get money, you don't have a place to live.
Yeah.
And so I think that really helped me later on when I actually started getting a job that I got paid for. It's like, I've already been working for a good bit, like technically years at that point. Now I just got to interview for it. I know how to talk to new people. I know how to do certain public facing stuff, and kind of moves on for it. And so I think that's super important because like you don't know whether you can do it until you actually start.
Yeah.
I feel sometimes like your first interview at 19 feels almost a little too late.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it really depends on different situations and different things like that. Because, I mean, for me, I didn't have my first official job until after I was 18. Even though
That's fair.
Or maybe I wasn't 18. Maybe I just graduated and I was turning 18. Yeah, I think I just graduated. I started in April or May, and then I worked for like a few months right before I turned 18, because I remember I had to have that like mandatory 4-hour lunch break that they have when you work as a minor. But that being said, it is one of those things that like I was in that same boat with you. I did a lot of volunteer work when there's this place over not too far from Disney actually called Give Kids the World, and so my brothers actually, when we were younger, my brothers got what was called a wish. I don't know if you have never had anyone in your life with special needs or things like that. There's a lot of organizations that come together, Make-A-Wish Foundation, Kids Wish Network, things like that come together to like, hey, what is something that you really, really want to do? And so my brother really wanted to go to Disney World and stuff, and we didn't live in Central Florida at the time, so they shipped us all over here. We got to stay at this place called Give Kids the World, which was literally like a resort for kids that had like all you could eat ice cream and buffets and like arcade machines, and it's all
That's
free
incredible.
to the family staying there.
Yeah.
It's super cool. So when I turned like I think it was 13 or 14, we had opportunities to actually go volunteer there, and it was one of those things that you could do and gain hours for like community service and for like the Bright Future Scholarship that Florida offers. But I got to go back and actually volunteer there a couple of times with our church and independently, and then I did a lot of volunteer work at my church as well. So like we would do like fundraisers for the summer camps, because summer camp for church kids is expensive. It's ridiculous, like $400+ when I was young, and I wanted to do the crazy Appalachian outdoor like a mountain hiking thing, which was an extra like $150 on top of all of that. So I got really good at running a cafe and taking orders and doing all of that front-facing stuff before I ever actually worked a job where I had to be in front of those. So it's one of those cool things where it's like, I think you're right. It's important that you have opportunities as you're getting started to kind of like work before you're working.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it's really important that parents, kind of like you were saying, put those positions in front of their kids. Make sure that they are recognizing, hey, I need to get skills in this area. I need to get mastery of these skills. So
that's super important.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, let me read some comments, because not the picklefoot is the general consensus of the public. First comment was not the picklefoot. It's probably better for the kid you told her directly, seeing as she clearly does not respect him enough to believe him if he disclosed she cost him the job. She snapped at you because you gave her feedback that painted her in a poor light, and she thought she did her son a wonderful favor. You're probably the first person in a while to stand up to her. Not the picklefoot, another person says. She needs to be told. Maybe her son had told her, but not, but someone outside her bubble needs to be told.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they psyched it out.
someone outside of her bubble needs to tell her.
Okay.
I say this as someone who was in her son's shoes. My dad would do the same stupid stuff. He would call about interviews and job applications. He used to call out of work for me. If I sneezed on the phone or if he wanted to punish me or anything really, he'd call and say I wasn't coming in and do other stuff that would intentionally or not sabotage my work. I used to sneak around when applying for job interviews and internships just so he wouldn't mess it up. I long ago developed a policy of excluding both my parents from job stuff. My dad, because he'd still do it no matter what, and my mom, because she will tell him anything I tell her. I'm in my 30s and they still can't know about anything about my jobs. Wow. Thank you for telling the mom, and please consider also telling the son.
I think that's another story by itself.
That's a whole other story right then and there. I want that person's story.
But yeah, it's not great. And I'm going to do the other side, empathy for the parents.
Yeah.
I know you love your kids. Like, you don't have to say that you love them for us to understand that a lot of this is coming out of just wanting to care for your kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally get it. That said, in a lot of these cases, almost every single one of these cases, the best way you can care for your kid is just to let them do it themselves.
Yeah, and it's part of that adulting process. I know we're going to use that phrase a lot, and people are going to be sick and tired of it by the end of the episode, but that is part of growing up. And and especially as like people who are homeschooled, I think, and like I've had a conversation about this with my parents before, but it's like when you're homeschooled, it's even more of that, I think, because your parents have been there for so much of everything. Like they've been there for all of these big milestones in your life, and they want to continue to be there.
Yeah.
And that transition out of being a parent to being like a mentor, a guide, a person that you go to for advice, but is not going to make those decisions for you.
Yeah.
That transition is so important.
Yeah.
And definitely one that this mom needed to make in the situation.
Yeah. So. I say, again, the person, OP, not the picklefoot. Mom, kind of the picklefoot here, but also I give her empathy because I feel like she just wanted to support her son. She did it in the wrong way.
Yeah,
she did it in the wrong direction. It got angry with the wrong person, but I can see the intention there. So that's a fantastic story.
That's our first story. Yeah.
Nice.
So I know we kind of talked about, what was your first official job once you got out into like the working world?
My first official job.
Podcast host. Just kidding.
Yeah, this is my first job ever. What was my first official job?
So something you worked at for more than worked at for like a month or more, and you were getting paid consistently. So it can't be like volunteer, and it can't be like, you know, one-off church jobs that I know I had that like they'd be like, I'll pay you like $100 if you want to come pressure watch for an afternoon or something.
Okay. I think the first job that I had was I worked at an art studio in the city that I lived.
Okay.
So this art studio, it had in the back just like an art gallery that was there, and then the front part was a section where it was like an art studio for kids.
Oh,
so you could
cool.
paint, you could do clay, you could work in a bunch of different things. So I actually had volunteered there before, and then during the summer they were like, we need basically a camp counselor to go work on that too. That's why I paused for a little bit, because I was like, did I do this first? Because later on I was a camp counselor. They didn't pay me at first for that until I got into a differerent job. It was still volunteer. That's like, what's going on here?
That's
Anyways,
weird.
Yeah, it's very
You got
strange.
like hours or something for that, right?
Yes, probably. But yes, it was an art studio, and so then one of my favorite parts with this job is I would have to clean up and I have to go over and take care of the kids and stuff. But when I was there by myself, when no one was in the art studio, they would literally say, "Hey, Phil, we need you to go build stuff with these," like, it was called Capla blocks.
Okay.
And so at first I would just like build these giant towers with these wooden blocks. So the Capla blocks, like just like these very long and flat wooden bricks, basically, and then you just can stack them up against each other. Kind of like Jenga. So yeah,
These
I would build things. Yes. So I started out with towers, and then I started building like giant bridges, and then I started looking in architecture books and finding like these beautiful iconic buildings and building stuff out of that
They
too.
kind of remind me, like we had Lincoln Logs when we were kids.
Yeah.
Did you ever have those?
I saw them, but I never played with them.
We had Lincoln Logs, but you could kind of make one structure, which is like a rectangular house, and that was about it.
But
These looks like they could do a lot more stuff.
You can
with
do
them.
a lot, and so I enjoyed that as well. But mainly it was just me taking care of younger children that were there, along with like an adult that was there with me, and then they paid me for that summer. So that was my first official job. It was like my first paycheck that I got.
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah. That's cool.
Well, are you ready to pivot into my story, which is going to be a little bit different? This one is going to be another aspect of adulting.
Okay.
It is potentially living with another individual as an adult.
Okay, so did you just like sneak in a married Reddit story?
Oh, this is not about a married people. It's roommates.
They were roommates.
All right. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. The story's title is, Am I the Picklefoot for telling my roommate she can't sleep on the couch in our living room?
I mean, what? I would say no.
No?
Maybe yes, possibly.
She can't sleep on the couch in the living room?
I mean, not if it's like an every night thing. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. It'll have to be. I'll have to hear the full context.
I'll let you know what's going on
Yeah,
here.
let's hear this full story.
Okay, so they start out with, I know it's not that big of a deal, but it's really getting to me, and I need some other opinions. Basically, earlier this year, one of my roommates, I have two, took up the habit of sleeping on the couch in the living room, completely naked.
No. That was the other thing I was thinking, but I wasn't going to say it. I was going to be like, are they sleeping like in the nude or something?
Yep.
Oh, no.
Despite the fact that she has a room with a bed she pays for. I asked her for a few times why she kept sleeping in the living room, and she said it was because her room got so hot at night and she couldn't get her AC unit down from the storage above her closet to install it in her window. It was too heavy. I suggested helping her get it down myself, and I did try. It was too heavy. Or getting a TaskRabbit to come and help her get it down. Mm-hmm. She agreed it was a good idea and said she would do it soon. I told her that I understood her room was too hot, but it was only going to get hotter with summer starting, and the sooner she did this, the sooner she'd be able to sleep comfortably. Our living room doesn't have an AC unit, so it gets hot in there in the summer too. The only difference is that it's just a larger room. I also admitted that it made me uncomfortable that she keeps sleeping on the couch because I wake up at 5:30 to go to the gym before work, and I'm often going in and out of my room while getting ready. On the other hand, she doesn't work until 11 a.m., so she gets up much later, and I hate feeling like I have to be super quiet when she sleeps out there. Also, even though she puts a towel down under her, how is that more comfortable than your bed, girl? It's in parentheses there. I own the couch, and I don't really want her sleeping naked on it all the time.
More than once, honestly, is a fair ask, in my opinion. Sorry, is that the end of the story?
No.
Oh, there's more.
There's
keep
more.
going. I'm sorry. I realized
No,
she
you're
didn't
good.
actually ask the person yet. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
This girl is 37. I'm 28. And I often find that I'm guiding her through a lot of adulting things that she should know at this age. For instance, although she agreed to the TaskRabbit and told me she wouldn't sleep on the couch anymore, that very night she proceeded to do so and told me that it was way too hot and she couldn't handle it. The next day, though, she made no effort to contact a TaskRabbit. I kept asking her about it for 3 days, and she kept saying she didn't have the app and didn't know how to do it. Eventually, I just scheduled someone to come here myself and made her Venmo me the money for it. It was annoying, but it got her off the couch, so I accepted it and moved on. All was well and stuff for about a month until last night I see her out here on the couch again.
Oh, no.
Naked.
Oh.
She was kind of drunk after a night out, and she told me she was just resting out here because the AC is everything. Our other roommate is out this weekend, so her AC is on with the door open, and that cools the living room. I asked her if the AC is working, and she said yes. She was just resting. But sure enough, she slept out there all night. I don't think I'm being over the top hating her being naked while she sleeps out here, but if she puts clothes on, am I being controlling by wanting her to stop sleeping out here?
No. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. No. No, 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 no. I'm so sorry. Like this. Oh.
Go ahead. Yep.
So, like, okay, roommates are just, it's a challenge in and of itself. I was blessed that I did not actually have to deal with roommates.
Okay.
So the first apartment I ever found was this tiny little studio apartment that was like, someone took one like condominium like house in the middle of a downtown city and converted it into like 4 separate rooms basically. And so I had the smallest one. It had one room that had the kitchen sink, the refrigerator, my bed, a bathroom. That was it. Loved it until it leaked, and I literally ruined most of my stuff because of it like I had like a skylight overhead like in the middle of the room, and literally during the summer or the spring months when it started to rain, like I woke up to water dripping on my head.
Oh no,
That was
I'm
so stressful.
sorry.
That was not a fun time to be an adult. But that being said, I didn't have roommates, but my wife did, and she has told me horror stories. And while my wife and I were dating at the time, she was living with a roommate who we started out really amicably, and we had a few really good foundational ground rules and expectations that she had with us of like, hey, I know you guys are dating, like, you know, would you mind just making sure that, like, you know, parameters, discussions, things of that nature to make it comfortable. Well, it was during COVID, and both my brothers with special needs were like, we were incredibly safe and secure during COVID to be like, hey, we're not going to expose anyone to anything because we don't know what's happening. We don't know how people get it fully. We don't know any of this stuff. So we were wiping down all the groceries. We were Febrezing ourselves as we came into the room. You know, we were probably I shaved actually because I wasn't like, I knew that having like facial hair could like break impede the I literally shaved so that I could just protect them.
That's kind.
So anyways, all that being said, and this person was friends with my brothers. It wasn't like some random stranger. Like, we were friends before my wife and her started to be roommates. Yeah. And then then lockdown happened. And she could not handle it, this roommate. She wanted to go on dates, and she wanted to be out there with people, and she wanted to go see all these people. And we had to be like, hey, you have free will. We can't stop you. But also at the same time, you need to recognize that that is incredibly dangerous, not just to yourself, but to, you know, us, and also to these people that you say you care about. Yeah. These people that you know who are like immunocompromised and have a lot of challenges. Yeah. And so it's like, you got to be. And so she listened, but it was also like, I think from that moment when we put our foot down, it just built resentment. And it became one of those like very, very toxic roommate situations very quickly. Yeah. All of that to say, I could never, and I don't know if this is from like a different country where they're more comfortable with like roommate nudity, but I cannot for the life of me ever imagine myself in a situation where I would be comfortable just being in the nude in front of my roommates. And that might just be, again, I was a sheltered homeschooler. I was a Christian. Yep. I don't even go nude, or like I might be a little bit comfortable to like walk around my parents' house in a towel, maybe. That's fair. Even then, for a very short period of time, if I like need to grab something, and then I'm like boot scoot boogieing back to my room to get dressed. And I don't know if that just makes me a prude because I wasn't homeschooled and I didn't do the public high school showers or whatever. But just the thought of like waking up and seeing your roommate on the couch. No,
in the complete nude.
No, just that's just gross. Respectfully, it's like, especially if it's not even their couch. Yeah, it's like no, no. Okay, I don't feel like I need to elaborate anymore.
No. I mean, I completely agree with you. For the longest time, and this is going to be a little Philip lore here. I felt uncomfortable wearing shorts because I felt I had too much of my legs out in public. So yes, imagining even that scenario of being fully unclothed, it's no, thank you, please no. That said, I do know some people who are far more comfortable with that. Yeah. Like, it's just like people I've met before, they're like, yeah, with my friends and stuff like that. Yeah, we're all cool with it. I'm like, okay, if that's a scenario where everyone's cool, which you need to ask them. Yes. You can't just assume, because I sometimes think that some people go, yeah, we're all cool with it. We're all good. Like, I don't worry about it. It's kind of like, it's just the way we do. Ask, okay? Mm-hmm. Don't just assume. Go ahead and ask. Beyond that, though. Yeah. Not your couch. Not your living room. It's a shared
it's not just your living room. Yeah.
So you can't necessarily just decide, hey, this is where... If they had decided, too, this is my room now. I would like to sleep in the living room. I'm going to move all my stuff out there. It's fine, but it's almost like you have a room. Yeah. And you're also deciding, I'm going to sleep in another room. Yeah. So now I'm taking up more space. But the biggest thing I wanted from this story...
I wanted to talk about the 37 years old aspect.
That's exactly. I liked this story the most because it shows, regardless of age, adulting just doesn't come the same to everyone.
Yes, very true.
Some people, especially this roommate that's out there, just don't either decide to take on those responsibilities the way that they should, or they are going, you know what, I never learned and I never felt like I needed to learn. I think that's important to recognize, because some people go, okay, once you get older, you're gonna get it.
Yeah,
that's not always true.
And honestly, I kind of want to like pivot into like a story I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Because like part of adulting, and I was debating whether or not I was going to fully like bring it up in the interview story, because it kind of explained it a lot, but it's also about like, you know, young adults finding their voice and things like that. So one of the big things about like being an adult, and it sounds like she was talking about that a little bit, OP, is recognizing that like you have to both talk and be like a person, a force, an adult. And then you also have to deal with adults who are older than you, who are supposed to have things figured out, as we've been told by societal standards, is like with age comes wisdom.
Yep.
And then you realize they don't.
Yep.
So like when I first started working, so my other major job, and this was like the big career job that I did prior to like transitioning out of it and going into education, or I actually went back into not fast food, but more with the food industry as a server and food runner and bartender for a little bit. But before that, and before pursuing education, I worked as a 911 dispatcher, which we talked about. And that I did for about 5 years. I almost got to 5 years. I should have waited. I could have gotten all my PTO I had banked up, but I needed to get out of there. It was bad. Not the company itself, just my mental health. But that being said, I almost didn't make it when I got the job. I went through the interview process, insane interview process, by the way, because it's like I went in, I had to do like 4 separate tests on different days. I had to do a drug test, obviously. I had to do a panel interview in front of like the manager of the communications department, one of the lieutenants over the department and things like that, and like someone else, I don't remember, I think one of the majors as well. It was a very intimidating panel of people that I was interviewing in front of. Made it through the interview, got through orientation, and excelled in orientation because it was a lot about problem solving and understanding like computer systems and things like that, which I was able to do. Got onto the floor, started actual on the job training, failed miserably. I was terrible at it. And it was the first time, and I think this is a big thing, especially for like us as homeschoolers, that we need to talk about, is it's like that first moment when you get out into the real world, especially if you've been like gifted or like excellent or something like that, and then you get into a job that you just can't do, or you're just not good enough at something, and that's a really weird feeling to deal with when like and I talk about this a lot sometimes with my family, where it's like I felt so like there were times I didn't put effort into something because I felt like I was really good at it and it just didn't matter. But this was one of the first times that I was working at a job that I wanted to succeed at, and no matter what I did, I could not succeed. Like I memorized all of the signals and the 10 codes that I have to memorize. I literally had like entire districts of our county memorized in terms of the streets and everything like that. But I couldn't do it. Like I just wasn't meeting the expectations. And what it ended up being, and the thing that kept holding me back, is that I wouldn't talk back to people. So when, you know, we were raised, I think is a pretty similar upbringing in terms of, hey, you are supposed to be respectful to adults. And when an adult is talking, you are quiet and you're listening and you're, you know, waiting for your moment to say your piece. And sometimes we don't need to say our piece. Sometimes we just need to let the adults be adults and, you know, you do your thing. At least that's how I was somewhat raised. My parents, like, not that blanket down. But all that to be said, when I went into the sheriff's office, I am now a 24-year-old guy. No, 20. I was 20 at the time. I wasn't even 21 yet. A 20-year-old guy going in there, talking to a 45-year-old person who is standing there over an unconscious person who is not breathing, and they need to perform CPR. And I start telling them how to perform CPR, and they start telling me, well, I don't know if I can do that, or I'm gonna wait, or stuff like that, or something like that's one scenario. Or another scenario could be like, hey, I'm involved in this like domestic disturbance, and I like this person is yelling at me, and I'm gonna go do this thing, and I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna give them a piece of my mind. And I had to interject and be like, no, You need to stay exactly where you're at. You did the right thing by calling, but you need to stay put. Otherwise, this could escalate even further. This could get worse.
That's fair.
And having to be that person that dealt with adults who were much older than me, who were much more seasoned in life, and then have to give them instructions and give them commands and things of that nature in order to help them through a crisis that they didn't fully understand. That was a huge hurdle I had to overcome. Because being an adult is learning how to navigate those interpersonal relationships, especially conflict, when you realize that adults are still figuring it out too. 37-year-olds, in the case of this story, are still figuring it out. Now, I do think there's a little bit of another thing about adulting called weaponized incompetence that is popping up heavily in this story.
There we go.
So that's a little bit different. But like this, like poor OP, because this person, like honestly, to some extent, it almost seems like a power trip. Like, again, this is me reading into it a little bit, but it almost seems like a power trip of the person to be like, hey, I'm going to keep doing this because what are they going to do? They're not going to stop me. I'm just going to keep doing it.
I have met people who are similar to this, not people who sleep on the couch naked. No, not at all. But I have met people who have similar behavior where they're like, I'm going to do what I want and I don't really care. What I've come to understand with those individuals is a lot of times it's not necessarily like a weaponized thing or they're trying to attack someone, they're trying to be mean or rude. It's just really selfish.
Yeah, there's like that entitlement.
Yeah, you've grown up, you've lived a life where you don't have to really worry about it. And that's where, like, when you start leaving your parents' house, if your parents, kind of like we did in the first story, have supported you and done all these things and basically done everything for you and let you do basically whatever you wanted and just kind of covered for you, once you get out there and you actually have to take responsibilities, like this is a common shared space. Put some clothes on.
Yep.
Make sure your AV system is working properly. Not AV, your AC system is working properly. Make sure you're doing all the things that you need to do to make other people more comfortable. You need to do that. That's your job as a human. The other one, OP, is 28. This other woman is almost 10 years older than her and is still struggling to do the bare minimum. So I want to, before we get over into the comments, which I'm just about to read, I say completely, OP is not the picklefoot.
Not at all. No.
This other individual,
very picklefoot.
Absolute picklefoot. Do not. And I'm going to say that even if we are best friends, I am not okay if anyone decides to sleep on my couch. I don't care if it's in our shared living space. Do not. No, that's going to be an immediate.
Tell you about what happened when Bree and I.
Please, no. Oh my gosh!
I'm kidding.
All right, episode is over. Forget everything. I'm leaving.
Could you imagine?
All right, I'm going to go to the comments now so I can forget this. Okay, so one of the biggest ones they said, not the picklefoot. Who sleeps in the living room on someone else's couch, naked?
Yep.
This is beyond weird, so I'm thinking there are other things at play here. You're saying you're always having to teach her to do adult things at 37? I think she's playing the I don't know how to do that, I'm just a helpless woman game to get you to pay attention and help her do things she doesn't want to do, which appears to be working, and that she's sleeping naked on the couch in the living room to get attention because basically she just wants people to pay attention to her. So, to stop all this and firmly tell her that you're done asking her and are now telling her that she is not allowed to sleep all night on your couch ever again, naked or otherwise. She has a room with a bed and she needs to use it.
Yeah. Because here's the thing, it's a shared space. So what you do next time, and this is the malicious compliance version of me, go out there and play the loudest music possible that you have on your phone in that room and just like throw a disco party in the living room every single night that you find her out there.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, still uncomfortable because she's not wearing any clothes.
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of, I'm going to give her a little empathy towards that. She did put a towel down.
Oh. So
There's
kind
at
of
least
her.
a little bit of thought that's there.
But that would then makes I in comparison to what the person said,
Yeah.
that's so uncomfortable. I'm just there like, that doesn't sound like a restful night's sleep. That just sounds like a scratchy.
It sounds so
rough
uncomfortable.
And couches are like, okay, like my parents have a couch that like the couch we did our family the interviewing the parents episode on. So if you want to go back and watch semester 2 episode 1, where we interview the parents, that's the couch I'm talking about. That couch will soak you in, and it will help you. You can fall asleep so quickly on that couch for like a mid-afternoon nap. It's a very comfy couch. But every couch, in my opinion, still it's meant for bottoms. It's not meant to be laid on. Like people, like if you're laying on it, your back should still be up. And again, this just be a weird me thing with like I don't have a chaise lounge or something where I like lounge my whole body on it. I went off the camera for that.
No, you're good.
But like, it's just weird thinking about like, fully laying down on a couch, unless you're like spending the night somewhere or things like that. And even then, usually people like clean the couch intentionally for it, or just make sure it's picked up nice and stuff like that. It's just weird to do it every single night.
The thing I thought of too, and then I think this is the end of this because I'm so uncomfortable with it in general. Buying furniture is another adult thing as well.
That is such an adult thing.
Like I even told my parents before when I started buying, my wife and I, we moved into a bigger space. Even when we moved into like our first space together, we had to buy a lot of furniture. And you don't really realize how expensive things are until like you actually have to give the money from your own bank account to, like, you're like looking at couches. Couches aren't cheap.
No.
Okay. The cheap couches you probably don't want. Don't go for that, because it's probably the same couch in the story and you don't want that. You do not want that at all. But they're expensive. And realizing that, you've got to put that money together, and then it makes you want to care about a lot more too. I think that's another part of adulting. You start caring about your things, you start caring about your life, you start caring about the interviews, because you're like, okay, now I need to make enough money so that I can go over and buy a nicer couch so I can burn this one.
So I can get out of this roommate situation.
So I can get out of the roommate situation and continue on. And I think it's an important aspect of everyone's life to get to the next stage. I know, I get it. It's not always fun. But I think also, I'm going to kind of wax poetic here, doing the hard things is one of the most interesting and meaningful parts of life.
Absolutely.
If it was always simple, if it was always easy, you don't appreciate those more fun things. And so when I did buy a couch that was very expensive, I felt more satisfaction sitting on it and watching TV with my wife and going, wow, this is a couch that we spent money for to buy. Or when we're sitting in our house by ourselves without a crazy roommate, we can go, you know what? We did this. It's very, very nice. So whenever you're doing that, if you are going through your adulting phase and you're like, this is terrible, just remember there are good things that come out of it once you work through
that sense of accomplishment, I think it's really something that like you should strive for. It's hard to like in the midst of everything going on in life to find all the negatives and the frustrations, but like taking a moment to like look back and see all the things you have accomplished as an adult is a really great way to help you like refocus that picture. I've done that recently where I'm just like looked back at all of the like crazy ups and downs my life has had, and just really just been appreciative of both the journey to get to this point, but also just like how much growth has happened in those times where I did fail, and in those times where I had to learn and I had to get through something uncomfortable. Like you said, it's that dealing with the challenge and dealing with the hard thing is where becoming a mature person, and I want to say a mature person, not just an adult, because there are a lot of adults who are not mature people, and we encounter a lot of those in the day to day, but it's that embracing the hardship and embracing the challenge and embracing the growth and the all of the stuff that comes with that really helps you develop a full picture of what you are as an adult and a full picture of a mature person.
Well, speaking of doing the hard things, we're going to give you something really easy, which is kind of contacting us via our socials.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you enjoyed what you watched tonight, don't hesitate to give us a like and subscribe on YouTube, or follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is that you watch us. You can also follow along with us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I think that's pretty much the big three.
That's fair.
You know, and then if you have any stories of your own that you'd like to share, you can reach out to us at shelteredsages@gmail.com. We are more than happy to get your story, see anything crazy that you have experienced in your life, whether it be roommates, adulting, parents barging in on interviews, all of that fun stuff.
All the fun stuff, please.
But yeah, so Philip, what is the adulting word of the day that we are going to encourage people to comment? Down
Comment.
below?
I guess if you want to comment, I was trying to think while you were speaking there too. Comment your first job. I was thinking because I was like, it's not like your first pet. It's like comment your pet and your mother's maiden name. Please do not. Don't do that. Comment your first job.
Also,
I don't
please
think that's a
comment
security.
the last 4 of your social security number.
No,
and
no,
the
don't do
back
that. Don't do
3
that.
numbers of your debit card.
Don't do that.
Yes, for documentation purposes, that was a joke. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Ever.
But yes, your first job, unless this is your security question, then do not comment your first job. Just make something up. It's okay. All right. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time.
Bye.